Hey guys, Harman back for another review. So today we're going to take a look at the Walking Dead AMC TV series Negan figure. Now this is part of the ongoing 5-inch scale series. This is series 10 and is actually a Walgreens exclusive version of Negan. Now this version comes in a single carded packaging that we've seen for pretty much all the Walking Dead figures in this line. You have the series 10 at the top, and of course you have the Walking Dead AMC logo, and then you have the McFarlane Toys logo on the top right. You can see Negan's name on the bottom. It just says exclusive. You got the AMC TV series logo, and then just some different languages. All right, and then on the back you got the UPC code, some different things for McFarlane, some credits, and then you can see some of the other figures in the ongoing McFarlane lines. You have the 7-inch scale color top figures, you have the 10-inch scale Glenn figure, and then you have all of the exclusive figures for Walgreens. Now you can see here you have Aaron, you have Rick in a different outfit, you have the Sasha figure, and then you have Negan on the bottom here. So pretty cool figure. We haven't really had a Negan in this line before, so it's definitely something that I'm glad that McFarlane actually is doing. So let's go ahead and get this out of the package, get a closer look. Okay, so once you get Negan out of the card, he's basically on this little clear tray. And as you can see, you really don't get a lot of accessories with Negan. You really only get the additional hand, and then you get, of course, Lucille. Now, if you get the 2-pack version, you will get more accessories in that. However, this version of Negan does not have blood on him. So just taking a close look at the head sculpt on Negan, I think they've done a really good job here. And to be truthfully honest with you, I actually think this one looks better than the 7-inch color tops version, which is kind of shocking. Usually the bigger scale definitely looks better. But for this version, I just think he looks excellent. Now, unfortunately, there's a couple little paint mishaps on mine. There's a little bit of spot on the forehead, and you got another one over here. And I can't really seem to scratch those off. I might try to get those off with like a sponge or something, but there is a little bit of paint issues. And the other one that I did not get that was on the shelf, the eyes looked all wonky, but I think the eyes look pretty good on this one. But yeah, overall, I think the sculpt is really, really well done for something so small. I like the beard. I like how they put like the gray in there. I think this is probably the best beard I've seen from this line, next to maybe Jesus, which has a really good beard as well. But yeah, there's just a little bit of weird paint things going on with like the hairline too. That's actually supposed to be there. It doesn't look horrible, but it could have been done maybe just a little bit better. But you can clearly see like the detail in the ears, and you can see his eyes. His eyebrows are nicely done. So yeah, really no real complaints with this likeness at all, except for just a couple little paint mishaps, but that's kind of comes with every figure these days. You can see he's got his signature scarf on, which is a very, very dark red. Of course, he's got his leather coat on, which I think is also done very well. You can see the paint actually did land on all of the zippers, so they didn't miss any of the zippers and the dots and things like that. Again, you do have a couple little paint mishaps here and there with just some of the silver bleeding into the black, but it's really not that bad. It could be way, way worse, and I think they've done a pretty good job for the scale figure that it is. You can see he's got the brown belt, and then he's got the bottom of the belt from the leather jacket and the black, and again all the little silver circular pieces for like the holes in the belt are all painted. You can see the buckles are painted. Even that little tab that you put inside the hole in the belt is painted. The zippers on the back of the jacket are all painted. Same with this one. Got some cool little details going on with like different creases and wrinkles, different seams in the jacket. So yeah, overall, I mean, excellent detail on that jacket. And then, of course, he's got one gloved hand and then a non-gloved hand. The pants are pretty well done. You can see how they're kind of bunched around the knees. And then he's got his, boots, which also seem to be very well done. You got the buckles painted. Got a little bit of texture in those boots. And you can see the texture in the boots does look different than the texture in the pants, which is nice. So yeah, all around really nice detail on this figure. Got the 2 peg holes on the feet. Different like tread on the feet, which is nice. So yeah, all around I think they've done a really nice job with this 5-inch scale figure. Alright, now the only weapon that Negan actually comes with in the box is his trademark Lucille baseball bat. And in order to really get him to hold this right, you really have to, switch out the hand. This is more of a supposed trigger finger hand, but it's so tight and so hard to get a gun in there. I had really struggled with it. And unfortunately, even just trying to get this Lucille bat in his hand was also a struggle, as I had to flex the hand open to really get it to hold the bat correctly. And also interchanging the hands was an absolute nightmare. It was very hard to get this hand back on, and I still don't think it's going to go on quite right, so hopefully I didn't break the figure. But yeah, I couldn't get this hand to really go in there that great. But anyway, he does seem to hold the bat pretty good. But looking at the actual detail of the bat, this looks pretty bad. It literally looks just like a plain wire is wrapped around it with no spikes on it at all, like no barbed wire, and I'm really disappointed with how that came out. It almost looks like somebody drizzled icing on his baseball bat. I mean, it's really bad. It's definitely some of the worst detail work I've seen with their accessories. Now, Negan doesn't actually come with a knife, but if you have various Walking Dead figures, you can actually fit a knife in this hand. The one I'm using here is from the version 2, actually the version 3 of Daryl Dixon. It's the second version of him that came with a motorcycle, and he comes with this gray knife. And it does seem to fit pretty good in his hand. So, like I said, if you got a couple knives, you could probably fit one in that the first hand that he comes with in the box. And again, he doesn't come with a handgun, but I was able to fit one of the guns, which is actually from the Herschel figure, into his left non-gloved hand. And I couldn't get his finger on the actual trigger, but he does seem to hold that gun pretty well. And if you want him to hold a gun a little bit bigger, several of the characters come with these assault rifles, and he can actually fit that in the left hand as well. So just looking over the articulation on Negan, the head sculpt's pretty limited. I really can't get this to turn much at all. I mean, you could turn a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and that's pretty much about it. It's this scarf that really hinders it from like moving too much. You can move the arm up and out about that far, maybe a little bit farther, but it's a little tight to really get it much farther than that. Maybe try heating it up or something. He can go all the way around with the arm. He can get his arm all the way down, which is nice. You just have this single jointed elbow, which is pretty standard for this line. And then he does have plenty of articulation in the wrist. He could twist it. He can go up and down with it, so pretty decent. There's nothing at the waist, there's nothing at the abs. He can do a split pretty good, something you'll never see Negan do in the actual show. And then he can go that far forward with the leg, that far backward. He's got a single jointed knee, and then he's got a little bit of a twist at the boot. And that is it. It doesn't look like there's anything, yeah, there's nothing at the ankles. So that's pretty much it for the articulation on Negan. Again, I mean, it's pretty much what we would expect, aside from the Daryl Dixon, which had extremely good articulation with the motorcycle version. We really haven't seen anything really surpass that. I do wish they would have had double jointed elbows for the baseball bat, just so we could get some of those like cracking head poses out of him. But this is it. Now, even though I can't get him in those swinging poses, I was able to get him holding the bat with two hands, so it is kind of cool. At least we can get him in a two-handed pose with that baseball bat. So for the first comparison, here he is with the 2-pack version of the comic style Negan. Now this one came with Glenn. It was part of a re-released version of the comic Negan, which was very expensive at the time. Now you can see the stature of the comic version versus the TV version is definitely a much bigger, character in the comics. Now, if you wanted to, you could probably switch out the baseball bat so the Jeffrey Dean Morgan TV show version can hold a better bat. The comic version bat is a little bit thicker in the handle, so it might look just a little goofy. Now, granted, the version with the comic is definitely a bloodier bat, but he is the bloodier version, so it does look like that. But if you look at it a little bit closer, there's definitely like these little spikes coming off of it. It's a little hard to make out. But you could definitely see there's much better details in the barbed wire. And here's Negan with the other comic version, Negan's baseball bat, and I definitely like this one better. Now I actually had to swap out the hand as well. I didn't just swap just the bat. So the hand's a little bit oversized, but since it's a glove, you can kind of get away with it. But yeah, this bat is so much better. And for the next comparison, here is the version 2.0 biker Daryl. This came with that second motorcycle, and then you also have one of the Rick figures. And I really like this Rick. This is the more heavily bearded Rick that came with this jacket that has like the soft collar. But all of these look really good next to each other. I can't say for sure if the height is actually correct. I feel like Rick would be taller than Daryl. But overall, I think they look excellent, and I'm so happy to have a TV series Negan for this line, because I have collected this line for a while, and Negan's obviously a main character at this point, so you really want to have him to complete your collection. And for the next comparison, here he is next to Maggie, Glenn, and the gas mask zombie, and I think these look really good next to each other as well, especially this Glenn with the more bloody head sculpt. And for the next comparison, here he is next to the Rebel Tech Jason Voorhees. Jason's just a little short for this line. And for the final comparison, here is the 5-inch scale Negan next to the more 7-inch scale Daryl Dixon Color Tops figure. Okay, so that's my review of the 5-inch scale exclusive Walking Dead Series 10 Negan figure. And overall, I do like the figure. I just don't love the figure. It's definitely one that if you've been collecting the line, you gotta pick up. I mean, you gotta have a TV series Negan to go with your TV series figures. But it's definitely flawed. I mean, the baseball bat, Lucille, could be way better. The details in that barbed wire are terrible. I mean, just the worst they could be. And the bat, of course, they've used that kind of warped, bendy material again. I wish they would just use harder plastics. Hands do not snap in very good, and it's all probably because of that jacket. They should have done some kind of flexible, sleeve or something so you could pop that hand in right, because as soon as you pop it out, you're probably never going to get that, the hand to set in there right. The other hand it comes with is kind of a trigger hand, but since you don't get a gun, it's kind of pointless, and that hand alone is kind of a nightmare to work with. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely one to pick up if you could find it. I think this figure is going to be worth a lot eventually, because I don't know how long they're going to keep this actual line of figures going. I mean, the only ones pictured on the back of there were just the exclusives, so we're kind of just getting a few here and there throughout the year. But overall, it is a cool figure. If you've been collecting this line, definitely pick this one up. You can only find it at Walgreens, so best wishes, to you finding that. You're probably gonna have to travel a little bit. You might even have to go third party like eBay or some kind of other retailer. Maybe even a comic shop might have this one eventually, but right now it is a Walgreens only exclusive. So unless you want the bloody version with Glenn, this is the only way to get a non-bloody version of Negan. So yeah, again, you know, if you would like the video, please subscribe, leave a comment or question if you have one, and until next time, guys, see ya.